Part 72. The Sweetness of the Seventies. Author, Chi-Sing Cao. Chapter 713. 711. When eating noodles, be sure to use a large bowl. He Tian took out the big bowl of noodles at home, filled half the bowl with noodles, and added a large spoonful of marinade. When cooking the noodles, she put a lot of black vegetables, which was considered a combination of meat and vegetables. In the stew, He Tian doesn't put much salt, so if you add more stew, it won't be very salty. He Tian fed the two children noodles, soaked the beef in the stew in boiling water, and then gave it to the children. "Mom, eat it yourself." Huoruwa didn't want her mother to feed her. He Tian smiled and said, "You don't know how to use chopsticks. Wait until you are older before eating noodles by yourself, okay?" Okay, the kid Huoruwa was very talkative. In winter, eating noodles is particularly enjoyable and warms the whole body. "It's really delicious," Li Yunzong praised. "The noodles are good, but the braised noodles are even better." "Haha, I like it. Let's make it more often in the future." He Tian smiled and said, "If you don't have enough, there are some noodles over there. Let's cook some more." "I'm full, I'm really full," Li Yunzong said with a smile, "exceptionally full." After dinner, everyone moved to the living room. Li Yunzong is very diligent and helps with the dishes and cleaning. He is a very diligent young man. Zhang Lifang asked He Tian to take care of the child, and she and Li Yunzong took care of it together. "Yunzong, how old are you?" Zhang Lifang asked. "There are not many such capable and diligent young men." Li Yunzong scratched his head and said with a smile, "Aunt Zhang, I am 25 years old this year." "Hey, you're 25, have you married a wife?" Zhang Lifang asked. Usually at this age, almost everyone is already married. Li Yunzong's face was a little red, and he smiled and said, "Not yet, I will recover tomorrow in May, and I will find a partner when I go back." "Oh, that's it." Zhang Lifang smiled and gave up the idea of introducing someone to Li Yunzong. It would be fine if Li Yunzong was at the Weapons Research Institute or Nanxi, she could introduce him. Too far is not good. Whether it's a man or a woman. Afterwards, Zhang Lifang and Li Yunzong chatted while working, mostly with Li Yunzong talking about things in his hometown. After 2 days, Zhang Lifang liked the young man Li Yunzong even more. Years ago, she was very busy. Zhang Lifang had to go to the hospital early in the morning. He Tian quickly grabbed her mother-in-law and asked her to eat something before going to the hospital. "If you don't eat at home, you can only eat at noon when you go to the hospital." "Mom, you can't be like this," He Tian said. "If you don't eat well, how can your body bear it? You usually teach me and brother Yingja to eat well, but if you don't eat well yourself, then we won't listen to you in the future." Zhang Lifang smiled happily while eating the rice porridge brought by her daughter-in-law. "Okay, I've finished eating. I won't be like this again. No matter how busy I am, I still have to eat," Zhang Lifang said with a smile. In the past, she and her husband often skipped breakfast when they were at home, and they were used to it. He Tian nodded and said, "Yes, there are many people in our family. I get up early, turn on the rice cooker, and cook a large pot of porridge with eggs and side dishes. Although it is simple, it makes me feel full after eating it." Warm. Yes, Zhang Lifang felt warm in her heart. Her daughter-in-law here was much more considerate than her son. After Zhang Lifang had eaten, she pushed her bicycle and prepared to leave. "Mom, wait a minute." He Tian hurriedly chased after her and took out the hat and scarf she bought 2 days ago. The blue one was just right for Zhang Lifang to wear. Zhang Lifang's eyes were sore. "Oh my daughter-in-law here is more considerate than my son. Even my daughter-in-law would not be as sweet and filial as she is." "Thank you." Zhang Lifang touched He Tian's head and then pushed the bicycle away. Huo Jekan and Huo Yingja looked at each other not far away and smiled involuntarily. When everything is in harmony, isn't that what it means? Here, he Tian Tian, Huo Yingzhe and his 2 children had a good meal, Huo Jekan went to work, and not long after, Zhou Yuanchao came to visit with Wang Ying. He Tian Tian saw it was Zhou Yuanchao and said, Yuanchao, Wang Ying, it's cold outside, come in quickly. Sister-in-law, you are still as young and beautiful as before, Wang Ying praised, this skin is really well maintained. You can tell me later how to take care of your skin. Okay, he Tian Tian smiled, come in. They are all in the room. You go first, and I will make tea for you right away. Don't bother, sister-in-law, Zhou Yuanchao said, and followed his wife in. The 2 of them took a lot of things in their hands. Put it together in the kitchen. He Tian Tian was not polite. There were many things at home, so she would give Zhou Yuanchao and Wang Ying a more generous gift in return. Huo Yingzhe heard a sound outside and saw that it was Zhou Yuanchao and his wife, so he hurriedly called them into the house. He Tian Tian went to make tea. The men drank wild mountain tea, and the women drank scented tea. Because there were guests at home, He Tian Tian did not go to the shop, but greeted the guests at home. Zhang Aijun and Li Yunzong also knew Zhou Yuanchao, and the 4 men were joking. He Tian Tian, Wang Ying and her 2 children were chatting and laughing quietly on the side. Wang Ying and Zhou Yuanchao have been married for 9 months and are not pregnant. Now when they see the child, they hug this one and kiss that one and are reluctant to let go. Sister Tian Tian, I've been married for almost a year and I'm not pregnant yet. Is there something wrong? Wang Ying hugged the child curiously and didn't let go, wishing that this was her own child. Last night, her mother asked her if she was her biological mother. When NMG comes, her mother-in-law will also ask her, which will make it even more sad. Why are you so anxious? You've only been married for half a year, not even a year, He Tian Tian comforted, it's holiday now. You and your wife have a good relationship. Relax and communicate more. The child will come sooner or later. Really, Grandma Wang Ying looked at her belly. Yes, don't think too much about it. I was just like you at that time, always worried about this and that, He Tian Tian said. Later, I worked as a teacher in Kijia village. I worked every day and was busy. I feel like it. Okay, I don't want to think about it anymore, Wang Ying said with a smile, and then took her children to play games. Bai He Tian Tian, her biological mother, also liked to tease her children. At noon, Grandma Wang helped look after the children. He Tian Tian went to prepare lunch. Wang Ying, you go sit in the house and play with the children. I can come here alone. He Tian Tian smiled and refused to let Wang Ying come over to cook. Wang Ying smiled and said, the child is playing with Grandma Wang. I will help you choose the food. This will make it faster. After all, there are many people today and you are too tired to be alone. Seeing that Wang Ying refused to leave, He Tian Tian didn't want to chase people away anymore, so she chatted with Wang Ying while cooking. Thinking that Huo Yingzhe was alone at the Institute of Science and Technology, she didn't follow him. She didn't know if any woman approached Huo Yingzhe. Now that she had the chance, she wanted to ask. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Xing Cao. Chapter 714. 712. Although she felt that asking about Huo Yingzhe's affairs behind his back was a bit shabby, but she was his wife, the man she was marrying, and she had the right to ask what she was afraid of. Not awkward at all. Wang Ying, is it okay for Huo Yingzhe to work at the Institute of Science and Technology? He Tian Tian asked, starting with an insignificant question, opening up the topic, peeling off the cocoon step by step, and slowly asking about the true purpose. This seemed unfair. Not obtrusive. Brother Huo's work at the Weapons Research Institute is very smooth, and everyone respects him, Wang Ying said. I heard that Yan Jing has been working on a project that has not made progress for more than 2 years, and Brother Huo has used it was completed in half a year, and everyone admires Brother Huo even more. Everyone who talks about Brother Huo gives a thumbs up. Ah, He Tian was surprised. I didn't expect this to be so powerful. Yes, even General Engineer Sun didn't think of it. Wang Ying said. Zhou Yuanchao always said that Brother Huo is a genius. I still didn't believe it. Now I believe it, and so do other people. In the research institute, he has special rights and treatment, and everyone is convinced. He Tiandian nodded with a smile on his face and said, "Oh, Brother Yingzhi still has special treatment in your unit. That's natural. When he goes to the cafeteria to eat, the master chef gives him a few extra pieces of meat when serving food. Last time, Brother Huo sent a colleague to the hospital, and our colleagues all rushed to help." Wang Ying didn't think too much. After she said it, she remembered that a doctor had been obsessed with Huo Yingzhi before, and quickly changed her mind. "Sister-in-law, don't worry, Brother Huo is very self-disciplined, polite to other women, and keeps his distance." "Haha, really?" He Tian asked, looking suspicious. Seeing that He Tian didn't believe it, Wang Ying felt anxious. She finally came to visit Brother Huo's house. The conflict she provoked in Brother Huo's family was not good. There was a fire in the backyard, and Brother Huo couldn't work well in the workplace. "Of course, sister-in-law, I work as a doctor there, so I know about any trouble," Wang Ying explained. "The house assigned to Brother Huo is right opposite my house. He goes back to the dormitory to rest every day. During the day, commuting to and from get off work with Zhou Yuanchao, and even having lunch together was with Zhou Yuanchao, and there was no chance of contact with other strange women." He Tian thought about it and said with a smile, "Fortunately, you and Yuanchao were watching for me." "That's natural, sister-in-law, don't worry." Wang Ying felt slightly relieved when she saw that He Tian no longer had doubts. "Well, luckily Brother Huo has good determination. There are quite a few unmarried female doctors and nurses in the hospital who covet Brother Huo." But seeing Brother Huo like this, Wang Ying wasn't worried that Huo Yingzhi would mess around in the Weapons Research Institute. Her sister-in-law was so pretty. If she were a man, she would definitely look down on other women. "Thank you very much." Then He Tian smiled and said, "When there are holidays in the future, you guys will come often." Wang Ying nodded and said, "We will definitely come here often to see these two children, and the sister-in-law's good cooking skills will never be forgotten by us. By the way, sister-in-law, haven't you thought about taking your children to the research institute?" "I don't have such an idea yet. The child is small and I can't bring it by myself. And I haven't graduated yet, so I can't go there." He Tian explained that sometimes when she is lonely, she also wants to take her child there. Find Huo Yingzhi. However, when I think about it being a closed environment and not good for children, I don't want to go. There was a chapter missing from the archive, so I replaced one chapter with 2 chapters so that there would be no confusion. This is explained. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 715. There is also a more important reason. He Tian has deep overseas connections. Her grandmother and parents are now abroad, so it may not be appropriate for her to follow them. After all, there were the most confidential research projects there, and she didn't want to get involved. Today, apart from collaborating with the enemy and betraying the country, nothing can affect the Huo family. He Tian also used this reason to convince her father-in-law, mother-in-law, and Huo Yingzhi. "Hey, that's true," Wang Ying said. "Actually, it's pretty good outside. Sometimes I think about buying a house outside so that I can go back to Nanji in the future." He Tian thought for a while and said, "If you have extra money, you can buy it. Anyway, this year's house is more expensive than last year, and maybe the price will increase in the future. If you don't live here, you can give it to your children in the future. After all, there is no guarantee that your children will work in the research institute in the future, so buying a house outside is a good choice. Wang Ying's eyes lit up and she nodded, I think so too. Zhou Yuancheo's ancestral home is Nanqi, so we also want to buy a house in Nanqi and bring our parents-in-law over in the future, so that our family can be reunited often. After all, Nanqi is closer to our workplace. That's great. If you don't have enough money, you can tell me and don't be embarrassed. He Tian said that she was willing to make friends with the people around Huo Yingzhe. Furthermore, Zhou Yuanchao and Wang Ying were nice people, and He Tian was willing to make friends with them. Well, we too have thick skins and won't be polite to my sister-in-law, Wang Ying said with a smile. They have Zhou Yuanchao's bonuses and salary allowances in their hands. My father-in-law and mother-in-law never want them. With her work, they also have several thousand yuan. Enough to buy a yard. Well, you can ask your mother's family or people in my shop to inquire about it for you. If someone is willing to sell it, you can also choose a suitable one. He Tian smiled and said, buying a house is a big deal, and it is indeed necessary. Compare a lot. The two women here are talking about children, houses, and clothes, while the men are talking about the country and people's livelihood issues. At noon, several people drank some wine. Tomorrow Zhou Yuanchao and Wang Ying were going to NMG, so after lunch, they sat for a while and then left. In a blink of an eye, it was the 27th day of the 12th lunar month. He Tian went to the shop and made a final inventory. She would take a holiday from the 28th day of the 12th lunar month and go back to work on the 8th day of the Lunar New Year. Each person was given a bonus of 300 yuan, as well as this month's salary. This month's salary is extremely large, double the previous salary. The minimum salary is 350 yuan. Sun Sihao and Qianchi can each receive more than 1,000 yuan. There are also various gift bags, including things from the store and some purchased by He Tian from outside. After completing the final hygiene work, everyone can go home to celebrate the new year. This time, 2 male employees were arranged to watch the shop and the personnel on duty at the temporary breeding farm in the suburbs. After making arrangements at home, Huo Jekan and Zhang Lifang also coordinated and took a vacation. At the same time, they also had to pack their things and go to Yanjing. As long as Mrs. Huo and Mr. Huo are here, Huo Jekan and his family must return to Yanjing. When we arrived in Yanjing, it was already the evening of the 29th day of the 12th lunar month. The person in charge of picking up people was still Huo Yingjun. Arriving at the Huo family's old house, it was rare that Zhao Huan was not at work, but at home. But when everyone saw Zhao Huan's belly, they knew clearly that she was having a baby. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Xing Cao. Chapter 716. 714. Mrs. Huo was chatting with her daughter-in-law and grandson-in-law. Mr. Huo directly called his son and grandson into the study, eager to talk to them. Hey, it was the end of the year, and it was only during this time that we could talk together, and he couldn't wait. Mr. Huo looked directly at Huo Yingzhe, with a smile on his face, very satisfied, and said, well done, Yingzhe. When I met with the big boss yesterday, he told me about you and said you were a genius. Huo Yingzhe was stunned for a moment, then smiled bitterly. You can't have your cake and eat it too. In order to be able to go home for the new year, Huo Yingzhe solved the problems that the Yanjing Institute of Science and Technology had not solved within half a year. However, doing so will definitely attract the attention of the superiors. It will be even more difficult to escape in the future. It is estimated that the desire to stay with his wife forever will not be realized in the future. Is this what it means to be in a world where people can't help themselves? Grandpa, Your Honored, Huo Yingzhe said softly, without the vigor and excitement that a young man should have. Mr. Huo was stunned and asked in confusion, "Yingzhe, your grades are so good, you should be happy. I see that you are not happy. What is going on? Are you in trouble at work?" "No," Huo Yingzhe shook his head, "it's nothing. I just work hard. It just happened. There is nothing to be happy or proud of." When Mr. Huo saw this, he was even more happy. His grandson was calm, not interested in fame and fortune, and was a good talent engaged in scientific research. "Okay, neither humble nor arrogant," Mr. Huo said, "Young Jun, you must also learn from Yingzhe. When working outside, you must not show your emotions or anger, neither humble nor arrogant, and be calm and stable." Sometimes, Mr. Huo feels that it is a pity for his grandson to engage in research. With such a temperament, if he pursues an official career and engages in politics, he can definitely go further than Huo Yingjun. "Yes, Grandpa, I will learn from my second brother," Huo Yingjun said. After these years, he got to know his second brother better and felt that he was more powerful. Huo Jekian was envious, but his son was not bad either. Compared with some people around him, he was already considered a young talent. "Second brother, you have done a lot in the past 6 months, Huo Zhe said with a smile. "People often talk about you in front of me. You have done well. Work hard. My father and I are waiting for your political achievements." Huo Jekin smiled and said cautiously, "Thank you for your concern, brother. I will work hard." Now the policy has been formulated, and there are 2 family members such as the Bai family and the Qi family helping me promote it abroad. Wait until next spring. When foreign delegations return to China, we will let them have a more detailed understanding of our policies and leadership, as well as the superiority of our policies. I believe that there will be more foreign investment and establishment of factories in Nanji. Well, this method is good, Huo Jekian nodded. As long as there are people coming, preferential policies, continuous leadership, and a large number of cheap labor are all important reasons for attracting foreign investment. What is lacking most now is the trust of foreign investors. Study tours are undoubtedly the best way. Yes, I heard his praise for Jekin from the senior leader, and I was very happy, Mr. Huo said with a smile. In this year, his second son and grandson Huo Yingzhe all impressed him. Mr. Huo knows better than anyone that most of the Huo family's interpersonal relationships and other resources are used in the eldest son's room, and less than 30% is used in the second son's room. From this point of view, the second son is more capable. Mr. Huo is also very conflicted. He wants to lean more towards his second son, but he is afraid that his eldest son will be too worried. In the end, in order to prevent the brothers from fighting each other, Mr. Huo let his second son work on his own and would only help when the time was right. No matter how much he asked, there would be no more. "Haha, thank you," Huo Jekin smiled. He also knew his father's thoughts and his difficulties, so he would only ask his father and eldest brother for help unless he encountered an obstacle that he couldn't overcome. This happened only 2 or 3 times, not many. "It's all due to your efforts and abilities," Mr. Huo said with a smile. "If you continue from now on, your elder brother and I will escort you in Yanjing. Do it well and do it boldly." After all, the second son's work was registered with the big leaders. As long as it can improve the economy and improve the living standards of the working people, then it will be a real political achievement. Good and outstanding political achievements are of great significance to the leadership who are in the exploratory stage of reform and opening up. "Yes," Father Huo Jekin said with a smile. He didn't want his father's attention to be focused on him and his son, so he smiled again and said, "Brother, this year is not bad. I heard that I have been promoted to a higher level. At Huo Jekian's age and status, it's not easy to move up a level." "Haha, it's all valued by the leader," Huo Jekin said modestly, but the smile on his face was deeper, which showed how happy he was in his heart. That's because the eldest brother is capable and does practical things, Huo Jekan praised. The eldest brother's stable career is also good for him. Only Mr. Huo had mixed feelings. He vaguely felt that the eldest son's promotion was also related to the second son. It was because the second son was too capable. The senior leader wanted to be promoted to the second son's position, but he also thought about the work in Nanji. It had just started and could not be transferred out of Nanji in a short period of time, so in order to make up for the Huo family, the boss was promoted to a position. Haha, I just did my duty, Huo Jekian said modestly. By the way, Yingjun has made great achievements in foreign affairs this year. We have all praised each other, so we have to praise him to prevent him from feeling inferior. Hearing his father's words, Huo Yingjun couldn't laugh or cry and said, Dad, I am your biological son. How can you say that about your son? Brother, even if you don't say it, I have to praise you. Huo Jekan nodded. In attracting investment, there are many places where Yingjun has helped me a lot. The second uncle has remembered it in his heart. If anything happens in the future, just say it. As long as the second uncle, if I can help, I will definitely help. Second uncle, you are so polite. We are a family. If I am not devoted to my second uncle, why should I be devoted to someone who doesn't matter? Huo Yingjun said, Second uncle, please just be at ease. If something happens to me, I will definitely trouble my second uncle. Okay, we are all a family and we should help each other, Mr. Huo said with a smile. It is better than anything else if his son and grandson can live in harmony. Only as a family can we work together as a team and work together to achieve greater progress. Huo Yingja was not in the same political system as them. He could not speak a few words and just listen to their eloquent talks. He was more like a bystander. With the memory of his previous life, he could better understand the political direction. Seeing that his grandfather, father, uncle, and eldest cousin did not go against the general trend, Huo Yingja was not worried. From now on, he would only need to point out the direction for the Huo family at critical moments and would not say much else. The more you talk, the more you do. Huo Yingja doesn't have that much energy. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Xing Cao. Chapter 717. 715. His job has already kept him busy. It was because of Huo Yingja's silence that Mr. Huo and others chatted for a while, then looked at Huo Yingja again. Huo Yingja was stunned, smiled coquettishly, and asked, You guys continue chatting and see what I do. Yingja, don't you have anything to say? Huo Yingjun was young and couldn't hold his breath the most. He discovered that this second brother was like a little old man, hiding everything he had to say, and others didn't. If you ask, he won't tell. In this state, he is more calm than his father and uncle, and not like a young man in his 20s. Huo Yingja smiled and didn't take his eldest brother's accusation to heart. He smiled and said, What you said makes sense. I'm listening carefully. Yes, what do you think of what we are discussing? Huo Yingjun was reluctant. He did not want his second brother to be like a spectator and wanted him to join their discussion. I also think what you said is right. It is in line with the current general trend. As long as we continue to follow this trend, everyone will make further progress. Huo Yingja said, Since you are right, there is no need for me to say more. Huo Yingjun was speechless by his second brother. Haha, Yingjun and Yingja have different temperaments, one is extroverted and the other is introverted, Mr. Huo said with a smile, very satisfied with the interaction between his two grandsons. After hearing this, Huo Yingjun curled his lips and said with a smile, Grandpa, he pretends to be serious in front of us, but you haven't seen that in front of his wife, he is a passionate person. When everyone heard this, they laughed. Huo Yingja said angrily, Brother, you are always smiling in front of your sister-in-law. That's my wife. If I don't smile at her, who should I smile at? That's not a smile, it's so simple, Isn't it? It's sticky, I looked at it, and I think it sticks to my teeth, Huo Yingjun complained. Anyway, in front of their husband and wife, the presence of others is very low. Haha, the relationship between Yingja and Tian Tian is indeed very good. It is a love that has experienced ups and downs. It is natural to have a good relationship, Huo Jie said with a smile. The younger generation has a good relationship, so we can rest assured as elders. I didn't see any of the boys from the old Tang family. There is one at home and several outside. They are making trouble at home and outside, and the house is restless. How can they be entrusted with such important responsibilities? Yes, if you don't clean one house, how can you sweep the world? Mr. Huo said. I said it before. You chose your own wife, so you will be her for the rest of your life. Don't deal with those messy things for me, otherwise don't blame me for being ruthless and righteous. Hearing this, Huo Jekian complained in his heart that his wife was not chosen by him in the first place, but by his father. Yes, Grandpa Huo Yingjun and Huo Yingjia said at the same time. As for Huo Jekin and Huo Jekian, they have no other thoughts. Their attention and energy are all on their official careers. The conversation lasted until late at night, when Mr. Huo got tired, so they dispersed. When Huo Yingjia returned to the house, Tian Tian had already coaxed the two children to sleep. He quickly went to wash up and got into the warm bed. It's New Year's Eve when I wake up the next day. Huo Ruxiang took Huo Ruiman and Huo Ruwa to play in the yard. Tian Tian followed her mother-in-law and helped prepare the meals for the new year, especially the New Year's Eve dinner at noon and evening today. Zhao Huan also came over to do some things within his ability, and the relationship with Song Chunli eased a bit. Although Zhang Lifang didn't know what happened, reconciliation was much better than a quarrel. The two pairs of mother-in-law and daughter-in-law do things very quickly, especially the kitchen expert like Tian Tian, who has become the main force. The braised pork made by Tian Tian last year was very popular. Song Chunli had already prepared the meat yesterday and was waiting for Tian Tian to come over to help cook it. Not only can you eat it at home, but you can also give some to your parents' family. Everyone liked her craftsmanship, and Tian Tian did not refuse. After a morning of hard work, a large pot of braised pork was finally ready at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. In order to hold more braised pork, Tian Tian built the pig head into several large pieces instead of the whole pig head. This big pot weighs dozens of kilograms. While it was still hot, Song Chunli packed 5 or 6 kilograms and gave it to her family. Zhang Lifang, not to be outdone, also packed 7 or 8 kilograms and sent it to the Zhang family. The Huo family kept 20 kilograms of the rest, and gave the rest to neighbors and old colleagues near the old house. 1 or 2 kilograms per household was enough for a meal. Some of them have good relationships and think the braised pork is delicious, so they come over one after another to ask for recipes. This is the basis for Tian Tian to make money, and of course he cannot give it to others. Especially the kinwei grass inside, it is even more forbidden to let others know. How could Tian Tian give them the recipe and distribute the braised pork soup in the backyard to several families and let them go back and braise it themselves? But this was Mrs. Huo's idea. After getting the braised soup, everyone could braise the meat themselves, and they didn't complain about Tian Tian being stingy. There were so many people just now, so Tian Tian didn't explain the reason to her grandmother in detail. Now that people are gone, Tian Tian decided to explain to her grandmother. Grandma, those recipes are the basis for my shop, I can't give them to them, Tian Tian explained in a low voice. It's not that I'm stingy, I hope you understand. Mrs. Huo smiled and said, of course I understand, it's not bad to make soup for them. Thank you, Grandma, Tian Tian smiled, as long as Grandma is not angry. Before liberation, my family was also in business, and we were in the dye business. The formula of each dye was secret. Of course, you can't just give the formula away just because someone said a few good words, Mrs. Huo said. I heard your shop in Nanji is very profitable. This is the foundation of your shop. As an elder, I understand. Song Chunli had heard that he Tian opened a shop before, and she knew it was profitable, but she didn't know how much money she made. Tian, do you make money by opening a shop? Song Chunli asked curiously. No one in our family does business, but you are the only one. Will it affect your studies? He Tian smiled and said, I made some money, but not much. I don't have many courses, and I find people who are more trustworthy, so it doesn't take too long. I just need to check the accounts every week. Oh, Song Chunli smiled coquettishly. Tian, what you said is wrong. You make money, and your aunt won't ask you to borrow money. What are you afraid of? He Tian felt a little embarrassed when she heard what Song Chunli said. She was not afraid that Song Chunli would ask her to borrow money, but she was afraid that her eldest aunt would ask her for prescriptions to open a shop and she would not be able to refuse. Seeing that his daughter-in-law was in embarrassment and the other party was an elder, He Tian couldn't resist. Zhang Lifang couldn't bear to see her sister-in-law's shallow eyes. Everyone else had said so, but she still had to say it clearly. Isn't it embarrassing? Furthermore, He Tian is her daughter-in-law, and her mother-in-law is here. How can she be reprimanded by Song Chunli, her aunt? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 718. 716. Zhang Lifang smiled and looked at Song Chunli. Sister-in-law, you can earn some pocket money for your children, so why are you squeezing your children like this? Zhang Lifang's tone was gentle, but her words were full of thorns. Zhang Lifang rarely does this, especially to Song Chunli, and feels that she rarely expresses words to support Song Chunli. First, Zhang Lifang felt that Song Chunli was the sister-in-law and she should respect her. Secondly, Zhang Lifang felt that her family would only come back for a few days during the Chinese New Year, so there was no need to be verbally unhappy with her sister-in-law. It would be very embarrassing for everyone to spend the Chinese New Year together. He Tian was very touched when she saw her mother-in-law speaking for her. She usually doesn't show filial piety to her mother-in-law in vain. At critical moments, her mother-in-law is still reliable. Haha, we're just talking about family matters, why are the second siblings so sharp? Song Chunli sneered in her heart, but her face was full of smiles. She is the eldest sister-in-law in the family, so she naturally has to put on airs. Furthermore, this is her home, and she is unhappy. Although she cannot say that she will not let the second child and his family come over in the future, but if she does not have a good attitude, it will be easy for them to have an unhappy new year. If sister-in-law is short of money, I still have 1,000 yuan, which I can lend to sister-in-law for use first, Zhang Lifang said with a smile. As for the braised meat shop Tian opened, I don't have the face to worry about the little private money earned. Mother-in-law is mighty. The implication is that even though I, the real mother-in-law, don't care, you, the eldest aunt, are too lenient, right? Sure enough, Song Chunli was unhappy after hearing this. Just when she was about to refute, Mrs. Huo spoke, glared at Song Chunli, and said, okay, the family is not short of money, and your sister-in-law is not worried about Tianation's private money, she is just curious. When Song Chunli saw what her mother-in-law said, she could only say, hey, yes, I just said curious, curious. Haha, that's good. Zhang Lifang also smiled, picked up the cup, and drank a few sips of tea, with a calm expression, as if nothing happened and nothing happened. Huo Ruiman laughed outside, and He Tian got up and quietly walked out of the house to take care of the child. As for the confrontation between the elders, she better not get involved. Her mother-in-law was so helpful, He Tian decided to be more filial to her mother-in-law in the future. A guest came to the house. Zhang Lifang, Song Chunli, and Mrs. Huo greeted the guests together. Zhao Huan also went downstairs and greeted the young guests with He Tian. On New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, we visit each other on these 2 days. Those young wives are very familiar with Zhao Huan. After all, Zhao Huan has been staying in Yanjing, and most of these young people grew up with Zhao Huan. He Tian grew up in Nanchang and had no contact with these people. Moreover, when He Tian and Huo Yingji got married, it was just after the Huo family suffered a disaster and they kept a low profile. They could only live with their family and a few familiar family friends. We had dinner together, but it wasn't a big deal, so many people didn't know He Tian. Huan, your sister-in-law has such good skin. One of the young daughters-in-law, Wu Rui and Zhao Huan, grew up together. They had not had time to visit before, so they had never met He Tian. This time, by coincidence, they finally met He Tian. Haha, yes, I envy you too, Zhao Huan said. Tian, tell me, how do you take care of yourself? He Tian smiled shyly, touched her face and said, in summer, I put cucumber slices on my face. In winter, I apply Chinese medicine Qi powder on my face. Once every 3 days, the effect is good. 7 white powder, I heard it's pretty good, Zhao Huan said with a smile. If you want it, I'll have someone grind it for you. Okay, Wu Rui said, my skin is very dark. It would be nice if it could become whiter. He Tian smiled and said, if you wash your face with white vinegar occasionally, you can remove the dead skin cells on your face. This is a good buy, Wu Rui said, I'll try it when I get back. This doesn't happen overnight. You have to persist. Just half a basin of water and 3 spoons of vinegar will be enough. He Tian explained that she thought Wu Rui was good and was willing to make friends with him. I made a note of it, Wu Rui said with a smile. If it works immediately, it will be an elixir. After that, several people had a lively chat. Everyone got to know He Tian a little better and had a better impression of He Tian. On the 2nd day of the Lunar New Year, I went back to my parents' home as usual. He Tian followed Zhang Lifang to visit relatives and brought a lot of gifts. This time, Mr. Zhang brought his second brother and his family over to have dinner together. Zhang Wenhui and Zhang Wenwen chatted and laughed with He Tian. Cousin, the braised pork sent by my aunt a few days ago is so delicious, Zhang Wenwen said. I ate a lot of it. I heard my aunt say that this is the braised pork you sell in your store. It tastes so good. The business must be very good. Bar. Yes, business is good, He Tian replied. I'm just making some pocket money. Zhang Wenhui smiled, rolled her eyes, and said, cousin, our unit only earns a small amount of salary a month, and our money is tight all year round. You have a good business there, can you teach us how to do business? Let us do the same. Do some business and make some money to spend. He Tian smiled and glanced at Zhang Wenhui. If it was Zhang Wenwen, she might still consider it. As for Zhang Wenhui, forget it, she is not from the same group. He Tian smiled and said, haha, there are so many ways to do business, don't just stare at the braised pork. My shop is just a small shop, it is greasy every day, and I have to hire people, so I am busy all year round. Lulu, you can't make much money. Besides, you are a civil servant, so you can't do business, right? When Zhang Wenfang saw that He Tian was unwilling, the expression on her face was not good. Yes, Sister Wenhui, you should stop doing business, Zhang Wenwen said. If you are found out, you will not be able to continue working. Besides, doing business is very hard. Look at my cousin who has lost so much weight. I know I'm tired. Doing business will indeed have some impact on Zhang Wenhui, but it will not completely dispel her idea, but Jiang Wenwen knows that Jiang Wenhui is very lazy, and she will not do it if she is tired. Yes, if you don't have the energy to do it, you will lose everything, he Tian explained. Since I opened the store, I haven't gone to bed before 12 o'clock at night. Ah, Jiang Wenhui was stunned. It's so hard. It's so hard. I have to go to work during the day, and look after the store and check the accounts at night, he Tian said with a bitter face. It's very hard. If it weren't for the capital that was confiscated, I wouldn't want to open it. When Zhang Venfang heard what he Tian said, she had a cold war. Since it's so hard, I guess I won't be able to do it, Jiang Wenhui said with a smile. By the way, sister-in-law, I see the clothes you are wearing are so beautiful. Where did you buy them? If you open a clothing store like this, you can definitely make money. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 719. 717. Jiang Wenhui's mind fell on clothing. He Tian looked at the cashmere sweater on her body and said, my clothes are all sent by my parents and grandmother from abroad. I only buy some simple clothes in China, so I don't know the channels for purchasing clothes. However, I heard that there are also a lot of imported clothes in Guangzhou, and they seem to be of good quality. When he Tian said that all the clothes were sent from abroad, Jiang Wenhui was even more envious. Why didn't her family have such good relatives abroad? Hey, Guangzhou is so far away, how can I have time to go to Guangzhou? Jiang Wenhui smiled bitterly. It seems that she can't do business anymore. He Tian stopped answering. She wouldn't bother to contact her anyway. Jiang Wenhui felt depressed when she saw He Tian not answering. Seeing that the atmosphere was a little awkward, Jiang Wenwen asked, cousin, are you going to have an internship after school starts? Yes, the internship is about to begin. I'm a little nervous when I think about it. Fortunately, it's in a familiar environment, otherwise I would be even more nervous, He Tian replied, following Jiang Wenwen's topic. Actually, it's good to be a university teacher. You have relatively free time, Jiang Wenwen said. I also want to stay in school, but my grades are average, so I guess I won't be able to do it. Hearing that He Tian wanted to stay in school, Jiang Wenhui was also very curious and asked, does my cousin like to be a teacher? Haha, I can't say I like it, but it's a relatively easy job, and the school is not far from home, He Tian smiled. This way I can take care of my home and shop. Jiang Wenhui was envious in her heart, but she was not happy with her words. She said, oh, my aunt's family doesn't lack your money. Why do you work so hard? Besides, you still have a salary, and the clothes you wear are usually sent from abroad. Come here, why do you make so much money? He Tian smiled and said, it's just that it's good to live a busy and fulfilling life like this. Jiang Wenhui suddenly thought that Huo Yingzhe had left home to work now, and He Tian must have felt lonely at home. Haha, that's true. My cousin is not at home, and my cousin is really lonely. It's good to be busy. Jiang Wenhui covered her mouth and smiled, very proud. Jiang Wenwen didn't like that her cousin kept pushing against her cousin. Logically speaking, her cousin was closer to her, so she had to face her cousin. Okay, Sister Wenhui, my cousin understands the righteousness and sacrifices her family for everyone, so don't make sarcastic remarks, Jiang Wenwen said. It's you, we have been married for 2 years, and grandma is worried about you all day long. You are looking for various methods to help you get pregnant. If you have this time, you might as well study with your brother-in-law on how to have a baby. Jiang Wenwen's words hit the nail on the head. What do you know, kid? Your brother-in-law and I want to live a life of 2 people for a while, Jiang Wenhui scolded. This is popular abroad. If you don't understand, don't talk about it, you bumpkin. I'm a country bumpkin, and you, like me, are not very fashionable, Jiang Wenwen responded tit for tat, not wanting to see such a person. This cousin looks down on others if their lives are not as good as hers. She becomes jealous of others when they are better off than she is. Okay, I won't tell you anymore. If we have a quarrel during the Chinese New Year, my elders will still say that I am ignorant. I am not as knowledgeable as you. After Zhang Wenhui finished speaking, she stood up and left. In front of He Tiantian, Zhang Wenhui didn't want to quarrel with her cousin. After Zhang Wenhui left, Zhang Wenwen said with a wry smile, "Cousin, don't be angry, my cousin is such a person, her eyes are higher than her head, and she is arrogant." "Haha, I only see her once a year, I don't mind," He Tiantian said, "after all, this is her mother-in-law's natal home, she can't quarrel here and make her mother-in-law lose face." "That's good," Zhang Wenwen said, "by the way, if your shop makes money, don't let her know how much money it makes. Otherwise, she will pester you. If it doesn't work from you, she will use everyone around you. For example, my second grandpa, my parents, and my aunt. If everyone talks to you, you may not look good if you refuse." He Tiantian kept Zhang Wenwen's reminder in mind. Sanfan Bridge was her hard work and she would not allow others to ruin it. In private, He Tiantian would make a good deal with her mother-in-law, and perhaps this potential problem could be easily solved. "Okay, I'll note it down." He Tiantian nodded, "Thank you for reminding me." "Hey, actually, for relatives, it's enough for everyone to take advantage of it, but some people will be greedy," Zhang Wenwen said. "The key is that even if you give it to her, she thinks you deserve it, and she won't even say a word about you. My cousin is such a person, especially after getting married, she becomes even more snobbish." "Haha, you're right," He Tiantian agreed. "By the way, what are your plans after graduating from college?" "I don't have any plans, just take it one step at a time," Zhang Wenwen said. "I guess I will just obey the assignment, or find connections with my family and join some units with good benefits. Today's college students all have this mentality." "Haha, actually this is quite good," He Tiantian said. "With your parents and relatives around you, you don't have to worry about anything. By the way, I brought you a khaki cashmere coat. While your cousin is not here, take it out and try it. If it doesn't fit, I'll find someone to change it." "Thank you, cousin." Zhang Wenwen was very happy. Every time her cousin came, she brought her clothes, which were not available in China. They were not only in good colors but also in good styles. After taking out the clothes, Zhang Wenwen put them on, stood by the mirror and looked at them, and said excitedly, "Sister-in-law, these clothes are so beautiful, I like them very much." After saying that, Zhang Wenwen quickly took off her clothes and put them in the closet, fearing that Zhang Venfang would see her. "As long as you like it," He Tiantian smiled and said. It wasn't that she couldn't bear to part with the clothes, it was just that she didn't like Zhang Wenhui. Furthermore, if Zhang Wenhui took your clothes and was picky, why would He Tiantian not seek abuse for nothing? So since the first time she gave clothes to Zhang Wenhui and Zhang Wenhui told her off, He Tiantian would never give her anything again. "I like it, of course I like it. You don't know how envious my friends were when they saw the clothes I was wearing when school started," Zhang Wenwen said. "My cousin is so kind. When I get to work, I will also send gifts to my cousin. The pocket money I have now is just enough to buy kites and rattles for Ruwa and Ruimin." "That's also your wish, Ruwa, Ruimin, and I like it very much." He Tiantian smiled, falling more and more in love with this refreshing girl. As they continued to interact, Zhang Wenwen often wrote letters to He Tiantian. There were some things that Zhang Wenwen's parents didn't know, but He Tiantian also knew. The two were not only related, but also became good friends. Zhang Lifang saw that her daughter-in-law had a good relationship with her niece and was happy to see it work. As for Zhang Wenhui, the granddaughter of the second uncle's family, forget it. With Tianation's reserved and arrogant temperament, she didn't get along well with Zhang Wenhui. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Xing Cao. Chapter 720. 718. On the third day of the Lunar New Year, He Tian and Huo Yingzhe went to the overseas Chinese mall as usual, bought a lot of things, and sent them to some close people. This year, there were 4 more things: Zhang Aijun, Li Yunzong, General Manager's son, and Zhou Yuanchao and his wife. Anyway, I have coupons and money in my hand, so if I don't use them, I won't use them in vain. Sending these to everyone every year has become a habit for He Tian. It seemed that only in this way, she felt closer to her relatives and friends. Huo Yingzhe is just a coolie, but he is very happy. Because of shopping on this day, only He Tian and him could spend a day outside together. This is a very rare opportunity. Huo Yingzhe likes to go out and buy things. On the 4th day of junior high school, Mr. Huo took Huo Yingzhe, Huo Jekian, and Huo Yingjun to meet his boss. He looked at Huo Yingzhe carefully, and finally said only one sentence: "You boy, do your best." When Huo Yingzhe heard this, he felt bitter in his heart. He had spent his whole life working with weapons and materials. Don't worry, Yingzhe has been fond of wielding swords and guns since he was a child. The job he is doing now is what he likes and he will work hard, Mr. Huo said with a smile. He understood his grandson's little thoughts. In front of his boss, Huo Yingzhe couldn't say, "I don't want to be separated from my wife. I just want to stay in Nanxi and do some civilian research." Sometimes, things are out of your control. Compared with some people who want to climb up but are afraid of not being able to climb up, or who can't find a wall to climb on, Huo Yingzhe is already very lucky. Having talent and being appreciated is also Huo Yingzhe's destiny. "Thank you, I will try my best," Huo Yingzhe could only say bravely. It is estimated that he will not be able to get away in a short time. Okay, Mr. nodded. When he was decentralized, he received help from the Huo family. Now that he has resumed work, he has also received the support of the Huo family. He has kept it in his heart. If Huo Jekan can make political achievements, he will use Huo Jekan more in the future. As for Huo Yingzhe, he finally believed what his old friend said. Huo Yingzhe is a genius among geniuses. It would be a waste for such a talent to engage in politics. After all, there are many officials, but geniuses with real scientific research capabilities are not many people solve high-tech problems. As for Huo Yingzhe's love for his son and daughter, he understands that young people, if they are not romantic, their youth is in vain. I will try my best to give him vacations in the future. I believe that with the stimulation of vacations, this kid's work will be more efficient. Huo Jekan chatted with Mr. Huo for 2 hours before letting them leave. After returning home, Mr. Huo was always in excitement. He called his son and grandson to the study and held a meeting all night. But most of the time, Mr. Huo said it and others listened. Mr. Huo would be very unhappy if he didn't get approval. So the same thing was discussed over and over again when Mr. Huo repeatedly said it and had to ask the juniors to echo it repeatedly. This made the junior miserable and he couldn't leave yet. When it came to leaving, Mr. Huo was not happy and could only let him talk to his heart's content. By the time Mr. Huo was tired, it was already 11:30, almost 12 o'clock. After leaving the study, Huo Jekan said with emotion, "Brother, you have worked really hard to fulfill your filial piety in front of my father these years. It's not hard work, it's what it should be." Huo Jekian is the eldest son who has high hopes for Mr. Huo. He has been talking about it for a long time at night, and it makes him full of tears just thinking about it. Huo Yingzhe couldn't look sympathetically at his uncle, but he could look at Huo Yingjun. Huo Yingjun also smiled bitterly, feeling in his heart that having an old man in the family is like having a treasure. When big things happen, my grandfather's presence is like a needle that calms the sea. But sometimes, it can be annoying to be verbose. Even though it was the 5th day of the Lunar New Year, Mr. Huo was still in a good mood and treated everyone with kindness. On the 5th day of the Lunar New Year, the whole family gathers together, because tomorrow, the 6th day of the Lunar New Year, Huo Jekan's family will leave. The whole family is lively and lively. Although there are some disagreements in private, at this time, they are all harmonious. Song Chunli wished Zhang Lifang and her family could leave as soon as possible, out of sight and out of mind. The house is lively now, but when I see Zhang Lifang and He Tiantian looking so proud every day, I feel like they look down on her. In fact, this was Song Chunli's own overthinking. Others had no such idea at all. It was because Song Chunli did not benefit from He Tiantian, and was shunned by Zhang Lifang. In addition, her mother-in-law favored the second wife, which made her feel particularly unhappy. Zhang Lifang and He Tiantian also vaguely felt that Song Chunli was impatient. When Mrs. Huo was around, Song Chunli might not dare to show it, but it would be especially obvious if she was going up and down the stairs, or when she saw Song Chunli alone. The mother-in-law and daughter-in-law were taking care of their children in the house. He Tiantian closed the door and whispered, "Mom, I have some money, why don't we buy a house not far from the old house? From now on, we will come to celebrate the new year and live in our own home. Living here, I always feel like a relative, and an unwelcome relative." Zhang Lifang smiled bitterly, nodded and said, "I also have some money in my hand, but it won't be enough when the time comes. I'll ask you to help me get it together, and I've already asked my parents to help me look around. It's not too far from the Huo family's old house. We'll come back later. Just live in your own home. Even if we don't live there, we still have a place to go if we're unhappy. We can't live with relatives just because we're unhappy. Well, how about this? You and your father-in-law go back to work first. Brother Yingzhe and I still have some holidays. I want to take a look around. If there is something suitable, buy it. We don't live here, so we can put it over there first. It proves that we have a house, unlike now, we always feel dependent on others." He Tiantian smiled bitterly. She was not sowing discord, it was really the eldest aunt who went too far. However, it's not good to want to file a complaint. After all, they only live here for a few days, and it's the Chinese New Year. It's particularly bad to cause a lot of noise and chaos. Yes, when Yingzhe was young, I didn't think anything of it. Now that both Yingjun and Yingzhe are married and have children, there are not enough rooms in the house. Moreover, in that family, the big room is the eldest room, and they have always lived in the old house. The only choice is to separate us. Besides, your father-in-law is filial and won't mention these things. It's hard for us to talk about it. It's better to buy a house in advance to avoid having no place to live when we come back." Zhang Lifang said, "Now she has. Now that you are a mother-in-law, you should think about these things." "Mom, I know," He Tiantian said, "let's let them maintain the semblance of home and everything. We can't let grandma and grandpa be in trouble. The grievances of the younger generation are nothing." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 721. 719. Zhang Lifang looked at He Tiantian lovingly and smiled. "You are a good child with a delicate mind," Zhang Lifang said. "Everything goes well for the family and we don't care about them. If you make a noise, you will not only make yourself angry, but also make things difficult for your elders." This is also the reason why Zhang Lifang always gives way to Song Chunli, although sometimes it is not the fault of Zhang Lifang and her second wife. "Mom, actually I am not saying this to sow discord with the big house. I just hope that we can live more comfortably and live more spaciously." He Tiantian was worried that her mother-in-law would think too much, so she explained that she didn't the idea of going against the people in the old house. "I know," Zhang Lifang said, "I understand your temper. You are not a gossip. Even if you don't say it, I have this plan. Your father-in-law will probably be transferred back to Yanjing in a few years, even if he doesn't return to Yanjing. It will also become the province in charge, so buying a house is imperative. Besides, a big tree must branch, which is good for both the trunk and the branches. You can't live in a public house all your life without leaving any tiles for your descendants. Well, as long as you understand me, he Tian smiled, and after reaching an agreement with her mother-in-law, she could let go and do things. On the 6th day of the Lunar New Year, Huo Yingzhe went to see Zhang Lifang off, and Huo Jekan left. As for He Tian, Huo Yingzhe did not go back. Mr. Huo and Mrs. Huo were very happy, but Song Chunli was a little unhappy and wished He Tian and the others would go back earlier. He Tian handed the child to Grandma Wang and Mrs. Huo, and she and Huo Yingzhe went to inquire about the house. But please don't do this openly, lest Song Chunli make slanderous remarks to Mrs. Huo. It's better to wait until the purchase is completed and find an opportunity to tell her elders. Brother Yingzhe, what kind of house do you want to buy? He Tian asked. Although Huo Yingzhe listened to her on everything, He Tian wanted to highlight that Huo Yingzhe was also the head of the family, so he would do everything with Huo Yingzhe. Explain. Huo Yingzhe smiled and said, the scenery here is nice. I don't want to buy a yard with many people around. It is relatively narrow and will be very inconvenient if you want to renovate it in the future. Also, if you like water, you can have a big yard in the future, make you a good swimming pool. Swimming pool? He Tianation's eyes lit up. Yeah, that's a must. The yard must be big. It's best to fit in 2 or 3 pounds. You can separate the yard from your parents-in-law. If we build a swimming pool in the future, it will be more convenient. Yeah, Huo Yingzhe nodded. Hey, I only have 5,000 yuan over there. Haha, you are protecting your family and the country, unlike me. He Tian smiled, although the money is not much, it is of great significance and contribution. Besides, we are husband and wife, my money is your money. If you always have this mentality, then I will stop doing business and use our wages to support our family. Okay, I won't talk anymore. My Tian is awesome, Huo Yingzhe said quickly. Those are what He Tian wants to do. He doesn't want He Tian to give up her life and ideas for the sake of her family. He Tian listened and said with a smile, although you can't do it without money, money is not everything. The reason we make money is to live a good life and help our friends and relatives around us, so we don't need to care about money too much. If you take it too seriously, you will become a slave to money. What's the point of having only money around you? Tian has great insights. Huo Yingzhe hugged He Tian and kissed him hard. He Tian and Huo Yingzhe were not familiar with Yanjing, especially in this era, and they could not find anyone to sell the house in a short period of time. I searched around for 3 days and couldn't find anything suitable. In the end, Huo Yingzhe directly found Huo Jekan's secret person, Lao Lian. Master Yingzhe, what do you want from me? Lao Lian has now been transferred to the director of the sub-district office, and is no longer the junior leader of the guest house. To a certain extent, Lao Lian was promoted. As long as you do it well, you may be able to move up. Uncle Lian, I do have something to trouble you when I come here this time. Huo Yingzhe was very polite. After all, Lao Lian was about the same age as Huo Jekan, and it was worthy of Huo Yingzhe to work with the Huo family when they were in greatest danger. Haha, young Master Yingzhe, young madam, if you have anything to say, please tell me. If I can help, I will try my best to do it without hesitation, old Lian said with a smile, and old Lian's lover brought tea over. Huo Yingzhe was not polite and said, I want to buy a yard. The request is above. Please help me take a look and see if it is for sale. If there is a suitable one, please inform my wife that we want to buy it. Lao Lian was stunned for a moment, and then thought about the situation of the Huo family. The second house of the Huo family was destined to be separated, and it was indeed necessary to buy a house outside. Okay, let me take a look first. Lao Lian understood clearly and picked up the piece of paper with the request written on it. This yard is really hard to find for a while, so I made a note of it. In fact, it's only 3 o'clock. The house should be closer, the surrounding scenery should be better, the yard should be larger, and it is best to have 3 entrances. Yeah, that's it. Huo Yingja nodded. Uncle, please help me take a look. Okay, I'll note it down. Lao Lian agreed. This job was troublesome for others, but for him, the director of the sub-district office, it couldn't be easier. Afterwards, Lao Lian stayed with them to finish their meal, while he Tian and Huo Yingja left after dinner. Lao Lian's wife was packing up the gifts brought by He Tian and Huo Yingja. Lao Lian, who is here? Lao Lian's wife asked curiously. All the gifts in this big gift box are good things. You can't buy them even if you have money or tickets. Lao Lian smiled and said, that's the Huo family above me. This is Huo Jekan's son, a young and talented man. That girl is Huo Yingja's daughter-in-law, and she is not a simple person. Her grandmother has a great reputation abroad. The company is extremely rich. Hey, I'm so envious, Lao Lian's wife said. What are they looking for you for? Ask me to help them find a house in the city around the Huo family's old house. I guess they want to buy a house and move out of the Huo family's old house. Lao Lian said, if it's other things, maybe I can't help, but this matter is very simple for me. Then you do a good job, Lao Lian's wife said. People value you so much and try your best to help them. When we have trouble in the future, they will also help us. Yes, I've written it down, Lao Lian said. He knew that he didn't have any great abilities, and he had always done things properly. It was Huo Jekan's help that he was able to be where he is today, so he worked wholeheartedly and down to earth, and there would always be someone. Not a bad ending. Now that Huo Jekan is gaining momentum, he, as a follower, will definitely be able to rise to heaven and find a good position in the future. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 722. 720. After asking Lao Lian and He Tian to please, Huo Yingja started packing his things and left on the 10th day of the new year. Before leaving, Mrs. Huo asked in the living room in front of Song Chunli, Tian, I see that you and Yingja have been out in a hurry these past 2 days. Are you in trouble? He Tian was startled for a moment and said, Grandma, we're fine, we just feel like we're going back soon and want to walk around in Yanjing. Is everything okay? Mrs. Huo didn't believe it. It's okay, He Tian said, I just went out for a walk. The house matter hasn't been settled yet, so I can't talk about it, so as not to make Mrs. Huo feel sad. Song Chunli rolled her eyes a few times and smiled, haha, I guess Tian must be looking around for houses. She probably hasn't decided yet, so she doesn't want to say anything. Upon hearing this, He Tian was stunned. She wondered if Song Chunli had sent someone to follow them. Then he thought it was impossible. With Huo Yingja around, those who were following him had nowhere to hide. Auntie is joking, I have nothing to do to look at a house, He Tian retorted, not admitting it. Your business is so good, you must want to open a shop in Yanjing. Song Chunli turned the topic to He Tian's business. Zhang Lifang is not here today. Let's see what He Tian says. Haha, He Tian smiled and could finally breathe a sigh of relief. It turned out to be this. He thought that Zhang Lifang had discovered their purchase of the yard. Oh, Tian, do you really want to open a shop in Yanjing? Song Chunli became interested. Can you let my eldest aunt also take a share? No, I really just went out for a stroll. I didn't look at houses or buy shops, He Tian explained. Now my shops in Nanji are too busy, so how can I have time to open a shop in Yanjing? Hearing what He Tian said, Song Chunli was a little disappointed. She wanted to open a shop, but she was reluctant to work and was afraid of affecting Huo Jekian's career, so she didn't dare to do business even though she had money. As for her daughter-in-law, she is a doctor and has no other skills except seeing patients. Song Chunli doesn't expect her to do anything. Now that there is finally a businessman in the family, Song Chunli can't wait. Hey, forget it, Song Chunli nodded, I'm just talking. If you open a shop in Yanjing in the future, you must tell your aunt, and she will cooperate with you then. He Tian smiled, nodded, and said, okay. After all, they are a family. If they come to Yanjing and open a store, they can give Song Chunli some benefits. If they are to pursue an official career and the family is not short of money, they will not think about corruption, and their career can go further. However, He Tian will not come to Yanjing to open a store in the short term. Mrs. Huo was also very happy to see He Tian say this. The reason why she did not stop her daughter-in-law was also due to this consideration. She is not worried about her second son's family, but she is worried about her eldest son. She also knew that this was not good, but she had to admit that people's hearts were biased, so she cared more about the big house in front of her. Not only because of the companionship, but also because the ability of the elder roommate is not as strong as that of the second roommate, so it is impossible not to keep an eye on him. As a family, let's discuss things carefully, Mrs. Huo said. She originally thought that He Tian would disagree, but she didn't expect to agree so easily. This is so sweet and transparent. She is very similar to Zhang Lifang when she was young. No wonder Zhang Lifang loves He Tian so much. Without her mother-in-law, how could He Tian confront someone head-on? Furthermore, He Tian did not intend to make a fortune alone, but only to make others jealous. The gap is too big and not good. Back in the house, Huo Yingzhe asked, did grandma and aunt talk about you? He Tian shook her head and said, no, I don't have anything to say to them. Haha, I can guess it even if you don't tell me, Huo Yingzhe said, Auntie seems to have a lot of opinions on us recently. She probably feels jealous because our family is making money. You know, He Tian smiled coquettishly. When you live with a smart person, you can't lie. Because if you lie, you will be exposed. I know, Huo Yingzhe smiled, she can't control our shop in Nanxi, but when she comes to Yanjing, I guess she will want to get a share of the pie. But she doesn't have much money in her hands, so she probably won't. It's too much investment. At that time, you can only agree to cooperate with a certain store, not all stores in Yanjing. In this way, we can not only meet their needs, but also protect our best interests. Well, I think so too, He Tian nodded. Grandpa, Grandma probably thinks so too. I'm just wronging you, Huo Yingzhe said. If you don't want to, you can ignore what they think. After all, it is your own property and your dowry. Haha, it was all acquired after we got married. It is the common property of our husband and wife. He Tian smiled and said, actually, I don't feel wronged. Although my eldest aunt is a bit unethical, she is not the kind of person who has no bottom line. Again. Or, our family is rich, and my uncle's family is poor, which will have a certain impact on them in the future. Since we are one family, the elder and the second are separated, we must help each other. Huo Yingzhe smiled and hugged He Tian tightly. He was so lucky to have such a good wife. The two packed up their things, had breakfast the next day, and said goodbye to their elders. Huo Yingzhe personally escorted them to the train. Grandma Wang was in good health and did not get motion sickness at all on the train. Grandma Wang, you have some tea? After He Tian got in the car, she went to get hot water and asked Grandma Wang to drink some water to warm her body. Okay, thank you, Grandma Wang said. After drinking tea, she took out a small box from her bag. This is what your grandmother asked me to bring to you. Tian, please put it away. As soon as he Tian sat down, she was stunned when she heard what Grandma Wang said and asked, "Grandma Wang, what is in this beautiful purple box?" "I don't know either." "You'll know when you open it and take a look," Grandma Wang said with a smile, her expression calm. Thinking of what the old lady said before, Grandma Wang liked He Tian even more. Who wouldn't like such a nice girl who is considerate? "If you're curious, just take a look," Huo Yingja urged. "I also want to see what Grandma gives you." He Tian carefully opened the box, and her eyes lit up. Inside was a pair of lavender jade bracelets. The rare color inside was purple. "Yeah," He Tian was surprised. "Oh my god, it's so beautiful. This is so expensive." Grandma Wang was also stunned, nodded, and said, "This is indeed very valuable. This is the dowry of the old lady's mother. The old lady has always kept it and was reluctant to take it out. I didn't expect to give it to Tian." "Yeah, why would Grandma give me something?" He Tian was curious and looked to Grandma Wang for the answer. "Someone in the red envelope area recently sent out red envelopes. If you have a monthly pass, you can grab the red envelopes and subscribe to Kikai's books to save some money." "Oh, mathematical intersection symbol. Mathematical intersection symbol, oh haha. The manuscript is being saved, waiting for the big explosion."